Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to tackle a subject which I don't think I've covered before, but yesterday I was going to come up with my top album openers of all time. I even came up with my top 12 and I looked it up, and I did it the same video 10 months ago, so sometimes I forget what I've done, but I couldn't find a video of me doing this one. So I've looked at the solo Beatles career and I picked what I consider to be my favourite 15 love songs. It's quite interesting to compare the love songs in their solo career to when they were a group. Obviously, a lot of their songs when they were a group were about love, but the early ones were quite generic and not necessarily written from a personal perspective, such as From Me to You, I Want to Hold Your Hand. If I Fell, maybe getting more personal, This Boy. And then we've got tracks like The Word and Rubber Soul and All You Need Is Love in '67, which are about love, but not I wouldn't classify as love songs. So I guess when the Beatles were together, Paul did write quite a few songs about his relationship with Jane Asher, but some of them were beautiful and romantic, and some of them were strained. So I mean, I would include Here, There and Everywhere as a beautiful, tender love song to Jane, and then something like I'm Looking Through You or You Won't See Me as reflecting the slightly negative side. So not too much straight love songs, those last two, although reflecting on difficulties in the relationship. And on the White Album, we get to see John and Paul basically writing straight love songs. At the end of side 2, Paul does I Will and John does Julia, which are both beautiful love songs. And then the following year, Paul would write The Long and Winding Road and Oh Darling. George would come out with Something, which is a great love song, although the lyric is slightly ambivalent, which makes me think it's not a completely romantic love song. He's even saying, well, you're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know. So it's not wholly positive. For You Blue from Let It Be is more positive. Anyway, we're on to the solo career, because that's what this video is about. And it's really interesting to see that Paul wrote beautiful love songs for Linda. They did get together before the Beatles split up, but a lot of his best love songs to Linda were written post-split. John, again, writing beautiful songs to Yoko, some of which were written towards the end of the Beatles, but a lot of which were written in his solo career. George, not too many songs for Patty that I can think of, apart from Something, but and For You Blue, but to his second wife, Olivia, there's a couple of brilliant examples of that, which will feature in my list. Ringo, well, I think he's probably better, looking at it, at writing breakup songs and covering Roger Miller's husbands and wives, and there's a couple of self-penned breakup songs which are going to feature in my list. So before I get to the list, bubbling under, quite a few songs that George wrote about God. So depending on what your definition of a love song is it to a partner or can it be to God? If it's the latter, I could have easily included Life Itself, Give Me Love, Hear Me Lord, all classic songs, mainly about spiritual love, I guess. But although nothing's ever crystal clear with George. Songs for Olivia, which didn't quite make the list, Beautiful Girl and Soft Touch. And then Paul, a whole host of songs which didn't make the list from him. Silly Love Songs itself, which was a whole defense of the whole genre of love songs, sort of sticking one finger up to the critics, and rightly so, although they didn't quite make my list. My Love from '73, classic song, maybe overheard it over the years, didn't quite make the list here today. What can only be described as a love song, really, to his friend John Lennon, who he'd recently lost. No More Lonely Nights from '84, classic stuff. Your Loving Flame from Driving Rain is classic stuff, although I think the first minute and a half is brilliant, and then it's too short and it's too shouty at the end for my liking, but it's great latter-day Paul song. And from John, Starting Over, the stripped-down version in particular, I think it's a great love song. Great mood he's got, great feel he's got from the Double Fantasy Band. And You Are Here from Mind Games nearly made the list. But anyway, so to the album itself, I've put it in a kind of form of a hypothetical album, and I've called the album Some Days I Look Into Your Soul, which is maybe a bit of a mouthful, but it's a quote from one of the songs featuring on the list, the best of solo Beatles love songs, side 1, opening with John Lennon's 1980 classic song written to Yoko and to all women called Woman from Double Fantasy. Absolutely perfect song, People say that it's similar to Here, There and Everywhere in the chord changes. Maybe it is, but I think he makes it his own in the delivery, the vocal, the singing is superb, the melody, wonderful. Second song on the side one of this hypothetical album, we've got Some Days from Flaming Pie, from that classic comeback McCartney album, or in many people's eyes, a comeback album. It's just a beautiful song, and it contains, you know, that line which I took to be the title of this album, Some Days I Look Into Your Soul. Just really whimsical songs about, you know, not realizing always how lucky you are or how you got here, or sometimes I fear for those who fear the most, and very empathetic song, and just beautiful. Absolutely top marks for that one. Mystical One, the opening track from side 2 of Gone Tropper. I've chosen that one as the next one. Just a joyous song, written about Olivia, I assume, and just full of happiness and great mandolin playing, I think, from Joe Brown, and very melodious melody from from George. So that best song on the album, apart from That's the Way It Goes, perhaps. Next we've got Out the Blue from Mind Games from Lennon. It's a brilliant track. It's got a great piano solo in the middle towards the end. Lennon sings it well. The only thing I could probably do without is the Something Different chorus, but fairly minus criticism. Great song. Fifth song from London Town album, Wings album, 1978, I'm Carrying, the third track on side 1. Just a beautiful, heartfelt, sentimental love song. Just him and acoustic sitting on the deck of the boat out in the Virgin Islands. Perfect setting to record a beautiful song like this. And it was one of George Harrison's favourites as well. So 6, we've got a Ringo song called Crying from Rotter Graveur, which he co-wrote with Nancy Andrews, and I think it's a really affecting ballad about the breakup of a relationship, probably written about him having broken up recently with Maureen. And doesn't it make you feel like crying watching the good love slowly die? You and me can spend a lifetime trying, but we're better off just to simply say goodbye. Just really emotional. Number 7, I've chosen the opening track from All Things Must Pass from George, 1970. I'd Have You Any Time, co-written with Bob Dylan. Again, I don't know if this is about the Lord or about Patty, but either way, it's a tremendous devotional song of love, and I love it to bits. Number 8, we've got a track from Imagine, co-written by John and Yoko, called Oh My Love, with an absolutely sensational tune, wonderful guitar support from George Harrison, John on piano as he had been for the title track of that album, Imagine, and just a lovely tune, brilliant way to end side 1. Turning over the record, we got side 2 opening with Maybe I'm Amazed, which many consider Paul's best song of all time, let alone with the Beatles or without the Beatles, and it's hard to argue with that, really. It is such a sensational song. I mean, a friend of mine, Roy Stewart, doesn't particularly care for McCartney, but he said he'd like to thank Paul for the rest of his life, every day for the rest of his life, just for writing that one song, which he thought was sensational, and I love it as well. I do probably slightly prefer the Wings live version with Jimmy McCulloch doing the solo from 76, but the studio version is pretty special as well, and was never released as a single, funnily enough. Number 10, track 10, track 2 of side 2, we've got a track from Plastic Ono Band and Love, and this is just Lennon at his simplistic best. And I say simplistic in a good way, because he's accompanied by his own acoustic guitar and Phil Spector playing beautiful sort of arpeggio piano, and he's just singing very simple words. Love is real, real is love. Love is wanting to be loved. Love is you, love is me. Love is knowing we can be. Just an absolutely sensational song. Sorry to use the same words for all these songs, but there's a limit. The amount of words to describe a perfect song. Number 11, track 3 from side 2, Your Love Is Forever. Absolutely, think of another word. Brilliant song from George Harrison from his self-titled album from 1979. Sort of gorgeous verse about the summer, and then a gorgeous verse about the winter, but just saying as the winter or the summer they came and went, your love is forever. Just an absolutely beautiful way to pay tribute to his new bride, Olivia, although he'd been with her 5 years by the time of this album, or nearly 5 years by the time the album came out. Number 12, we've got that golden nugget from McCartney's first solo album, Every Night, which some people say he didn't do justice to, and it was a rather rushed recording, and someone like Phoebe Snow did a better version. Well, I don't buy that. I think this is absolute perfection. It doesn't need any more than just Paul on the acoustic with playing the drums behind it and the bass. And his voice is absolutely at the top of his game on this album, as it was during this whole period. So that's pretty near perfection, that song. Gave It All Up is from Ringo, and it's from Ringo the 4th, 1977. And it's a kind of mixture of a song, because it starts off talking about his school, his childhood, then his going to school, and then getting together with his first wife, then splitting up, and then getting together and being happy with Nancy at the time, Nancy Andrews. And it's a very affecting love song, and it's written by Ringo and Vinnie Poncia, joint composition, and one of his best, in my opinion. Second to last track on this album, we've got Dark Sweet Lady from Self-Titled. Beautiful guitar playing from George, lovely melody, lovely words about Olivia again. And then to finish the album, we've got the 1976 track from Wings at the Speed of Sound, Warm and Beautiful, with Paul accompanying himself on the piano, singing a beautiful melody, sentimental words, yes, but lovely words. And I know this is a bit too saccharine for some tastes, but I absolutely love it. And it was a favourite of Elvis Costello, I seem to remember, as well as one of Paul's favourites. One of the things I failed to mention, I don't think I talked about this, I bought this December edition of Country Life, which has George Harrison's garden on the cover, and in the magazine we've got pictures of George's garden, and a nice article by a friend of my family called Charles Quest Ritson. Very interesting if you want to check that out. I think it's available online. And then I looked at my old copy of Rolling Stone from 1979, and this is an interview with George Harrison around about the time of the self-titled album. And it's a very long, four pages, 4 full pages with this quite amusing portrait of George there. So that's worth checking out. So I'll just show you this hypothetical album, the track listing here, if you can read that. Sorry if I didn't include your favourite love songs from post-Beatles solo records or Wings records, but these are my favourite. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.